Yeah, let's get it, bro. Let's get it.
All right, let's go. All right. Okay.
Okay.
I'm already recording. What's going on, family? This is your host, John, a.k.a. Jay David, and you are tuned into another episode of the Cavalier Convos podcast. I got a few of my brothers here with me. We got Dwayne in the building.
Yo, what's up? What's
We got
up?
Kenny in the building.
Yes, sir.
And we got Reggie in the building.
You already know it's the convo.
Wow. All right. Well, shout out to the listeners. Appreciate y'all tuning in once again to check us out. Also, make sure y'all subscribe to us via Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Also, hit us up on social media. So, yeah, man, appreciate y'all being on today. I know we use this podcast a lot to talk about just things in regards to the black community as a whole. But specifically, you know, we're going to talk about and gear this conversation towards specifically black men. Now, that does not mean that our black women or, you know, especially our young black males, you know, can't listen because there's a lot of good things to kind of take from this conversation. But I wanted to, you know, kind of discuss this because I think it's important in regards to kind of setting a standard in the community, especially when it comes to men, and a level of accountability when it comes to the way we handle our manhood and our masculinity. So I'm going to start out with a question, I guess. Have we lowered the standard of manhood in the black community?
Yes. Easy answer is yes.
More complicated answer is some people, yes, have.
Yeah,
I'm about to say the same thing.
so
Some people, yes.
Others,
others
not
not.
necessarily.
but I think there's a lot that has to do with it though.
Yeah, what's the reason?
Like, number one, it's more talked about now how black men have been affected by so many different things. And it's more talked about now, but at the same time, with that same conversation, that complacency we talk about with black people is like now black men are finding out some of these things that have actually affected them. And then it's like they start to take a step back from a lot of things where they could be excelling or where they could be average, let alone excelling, and start to take a step back and play the victim. There's already this level of victimization, right? But it's another thing to play the victim, meaning that basically you're just going to settle.
Embracing it.
Yeah, you're just going to settle for being a victim. And I would say, in brief, that's probably, in my opinion, the biggest reason, or the biggest thing when it comes to holding black men accountable and what it means to be a black man sort of being demoted.
I look at it like it's what we allow for as black men. For example, I strongly disagree with sagging pants. You ask my sons, you walk in my house, your pants are up on your waist. We don't show draws. We don't have sagging. We don't deal with that. It's what we allow. You know, some people just letting that stuff slide. They just letting it allow. I strongly disagree. A lot of times I tell some ball players, pull your pants up, because that's the way I was brought up. So it's what I believe is what we're allowing some of the men to do, to get away with. We losing some of the tradition. You know what I'm trying to say.
Traditions.
We losing a lot of things that we was raised up on. Like I'm old school, so I'm raised. When it comes to suits, that was a thing. We go to church, you put on a suit. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? It's just what we allow. It's we losing a lot of that as time go along. We're allowing young men to get away with a lot of different things. That's what I feel is what's happening with the community, for as my point of view.
Yeah, I think it's. I'll say it this way because I think you made an interesting point about what we allow, and I think it's also what we create in terms of standards, right? Which is the same thing, really. And what I mean by that is,
You said it right there, one word. Standards.
Hold our own standard, right, and perpetuate positive standards further and downward or upward, right? And what that means is, whether it's the way you carry yourself from an attire standpoint, the way you carry yourself in a board meeting or business meeting, or the way you carry yourself in the street, right? Yeah. I had a conversation recently at work, and we were just, having different conversations. And one of the points I made about an individual that came up in the conversation is the individual just does not understand how to for lack of a better term, flip the switch, right? We all have those moments when we're at home or when we're with our friends to where we kind of let our guard down. We may say something that we wouldn't say in a business meeting. We may laugh about something that's not funny in a professional setting, whatever the case may be. But the reality is, can you and do you handle yourself the right way in the right situations? The thing that frustrates me more than anything is when you look at a young black male and you know that he knows he's walking into a business meeting or walking into a situation where he's talking to somebody that could eventually be an employer or somebody that can help him get somewhere that he wants to be, an employer, an educational outlet, a potential coach that's giving him a scholarship, whatever the case may be. And they'll say something like, well, I don't like tucking my shirt in. Well, guess what? You're walking in somewhere asking somebody for something. You need to get in, and it's not about conformity. It's about respecting the room, right? And I think one of the things that we have to continue to teach younger black men is how to read the room, how to read the situation, and how to carry yourself in said situation.
The thing is, right, is that we've kind of accepted mediocrity as a standard. And that kind of goes to the point of what you just said, like, you don't even understand, like, the room that you're in. Like, just getting by on the bare minimum. I'll give you a good example. And I'm not trying to get into a whole sports conversation, but Deontay Wilder, a lot of natural physical talent that, he just has this supernatural talent to
Country
hit people
boy.
really hard. He's tall. I mean, if you look at him, like, he looks like the heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah.
Then you have someone like Tyson Fury, who is,
studying his craft.
Sloppy looking, dude was on drugs, on crack, all types of stuff, depressed, almost killed himself. But like you said, Dwayne, studied his craft. It's
Worked
not
himself back.
And brought himself back. Like, and black people have the ability to do that too as well. So it's not a thing of like, hard work. Like, nobody can work harder than a slave. So black people understand that we're hard work. It's the preparation to understand that you're in a competitive environment. Like, as a man, right, we're taught from a very early age to learn how to compete, or we should be.
Yeah.
We're not instilling that desire to be competitive anymore for different reasons. Part of it is, the lack of, fathers in the home. You could talk about, the social engineering in the classroom. Complacency, there's a lot of different things, but
and competitiveness in the wrong arenas, right? Like you mentioned,
I'm about to
sports.
say that too.
Like a lot of them want to be athletes. They want to be competitive on the field, but they don't want to be competitive in the classroom, or they don't want to be competitive
financially.
Financially, they don't want to be. Yeah,
that's
so many of those things.
That's what I'm glad you brought that up, because even when we are teaching competition and being competitive and how to be competitive and where you do that, a lot of it, it's especially when talking about mediocrity, we talk about competition in realms where we automatically stifle, like, our kids. So instead of teaching our kids to compete by becoming a boss, we tell them to compete by being a worker and being the best worker possible.
I wouldn't say there's nothing wrong with that, because there's nothing wrong with that in a sense, because, like, if you're going to be a worker, try to maximize that opportunity.
But we're giving them, but we're automatically setting a ceiling.
Yeah.
That's not even there.
Very true. Yeah.
We're putting them in it's like we're putting them in a box and say, be competitive in this box.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we all do that, but I see that a lot when you see parents that they're teaching their kids, but there's sort of like this level that they're missing.
Yeah.
And it's like if you're going to be successful and you're going to compete here.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, like, listen.
But that's where you teach them there's a glass ceiling. You could break that ceiling. You don't stop. You don't let them know that that's the end.
Right.
You got to let them know you could compete. Like, I understand you said that box. Sometimes you got to start at a certain level so they could learn how to advance. So if they start in that little box And then once they achieve that box, you're like, okay, now it's time to move on further. So you got to teach them that it's not a limit to what you can do. You know, I know we always talk about sports and stuff like that. But like I tell kids all the time, you could be a great athlete, but your grades going to take you everywhere you go. So compete in that classroom. Try to be that valedictorian or whatever you want to, because your grades will take you wherever you want to go.
Well, they got to get you in school first. I tell the kids that all the time. I don't care if you're a 4'2" football player or if you can hit a Jaye from 38 feet. If you cannot read a book, let alone a defense,
you can't read that contract.
You can't get in school. I can't get you into school.
Yeah.
We just saw a video of a fan running a 4-1 outside of a football stadium.
That's great.
A fan.
And he plays for who?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But he's probably
Like, oh, yeah, it's great.
he's probably a ridiculous venture capitalist though.
The thing, the thing, and like I like to in the competitive nature, right? Like, sports teaches you that, but the idea of competing financially, like, that is very, very important because, like, for men, we have to deal with real numbers, real figures. We have to be able to produce something.
Yeah.
We have to have, like, there's things intangible that are great. You know, you got a good personality. You know, you're a nice human being. You're kind. All this other, stuff, right? And which is cool. But you are judged at the end of the day based on, as a man, you're judged based on what you produce at the end of the day.
Yep.
Your family and your wife or your kids and your whoever, they're looking at dad or they're looking at their brother or whoever is in regards to what you produce and what they can physically put their hands on and touch and see.
Well, before,
and let me say this because I like that.
And I got something from it has to do with what both of y'all
I
said.
think to that point,
before you get there, there's something else.
Getting back to the competitive part and how we, sort of branch out. It's easy for many of us to call the next person and say, "Hey, man, let's go hoop, or let's go run, or let's go run these stadium steps." Why can't we call each other and say, "Hey, man, I'm going to this financial literacy class.
I'm about to watch this webinar.
I'm getting ready to hit this webinar. I'm about to hit this TED Talk on money." Like, I think those are, to your point, John, those are some of the things that, as black men in America, I think we need to make sure that we're not afraid to do that as well, because that speaks to what you're talking about in terms of the financial literacy, because we see all the time people, right, look at the next person and they go, "Oh, okay, his house has 4 bedrooms. I'm going to go buy a house with 5 bedrooms." Okay, so you're competing, but is that the right way to compete, or should you be competing from a standpoint of how are we both growing?
It's not necessarily anything wrong with that, though. I don't think it's wrong because
it is wrong if you can't afford it.
It all depends.
If you can't afford it, it's wrong.
It depends on your needs and wants now.
I get that part. I get that part. I understand. Like, if you can't afford it, like, you're not competing. You're just being a dumbass.
You're going to end up living outside.
Like you was talking about financial, I remember episodes way back. I remember Iphonzo was talking about, like, when he was growing up, he was competing. Everybody want that money. They see some car, they want their money. They was competing in a different type of way because they always want to be, "Oh, I want what he got. I want what he got.
Right.
Oh, he got money. I want that money." But it was competing differently. You know what I'm saying? So, like you say, we all talk to compete. But it depends if it's competing correctly or in the right way. Are we competing for the right thing?
Are you competing for growth, or are you competing to compete?
So are you competing to try to outdo somebody just because you want to be, say, I'm better
the
than
king
you?
On it, right.
Yeah.
So before we actually get judged on what we produce, black men, specifically black men, we get judged on how we look first.
Yeah.
And
say that one more time.
And that
Get that to the people again.
That by itself can stifle anything. Honestly, it can stifle anything. So, like Dwayne was just saying, we're talking about, like, sagging pants and stuff like that. Number one, what is even attractive about that?
I know if you walk in my office,
society,
if you walk in my office looking crazy,
society think it's attractive.
And then number two, like what you were talking about, at some point now you're getting to at least a more acceptable look, so to say, but there's still a lot wrong with how you're presenting yourself.
Correct.
You know what I mean?
The thing, and I've, like, had a different, because I've, like, changed over the course of, like, I change and evolve, like,
since I've known
Hold
you.
on,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
hold on.
And
Before
there's
you
nothing wrong with
continue,
that.
One thing you just said when you start talking about change,
Evolve.
exactly.
Yes.
You said evolved,
Yeah.
meaning that you grew in a positive rate.
Yeah.
You grew
'Cause
out of the young
you know what I'm
childish
saying?
things.
Absolutely.
You evolved, meaning that wherever
As
you
they
were,
say,
you got
becoming
to
a man, you let go
better
of childish things and childish ways.
Another level.
yeah.
Yeah, but the thing in regards to who's that attracted to, right? The sagging pants and things like that, and the ornamentation and stuff like that. I think, like, I'll give you an example. For a guy
The
like,
culture that wants to minimize you.
Nah, it's really
Well,
the other
but-
dudes.
but it's,
That is fair.
but yeah, and I think it's not more so the
That's how
sagging
stupid.
pants
That's how stupid that is.
or the thug image or whatever, but I think it's what's attractive. And you could probably speak more so about females in this regard. What attracts them to that is the uncompromising nature of that. It may be wrong. It may not be
And
right.
I'm like you. I blame some of the females for
I mean,
some
but,
accepting it.
accepting
but
a lot of
if
things.
It's not even comfortable.
no, but I get it. No, I understand what you're saying.
I'm not gonna blame
No,
all
it's-
of them.
It's not practical anything. It's
no,
like,
and it's not, and doesn't make it a good thing because, like, it's one thing like if you're attracted to that as a woman and you're getting something out of it that's like resources out of the situation. Like I said, I don't judge women for wanting a guy who has money. I tell people that all the time. I say if a woman is looking for a guy who can take care of her, obviously, like we know what a gold digger is. Like we know who
be it.
thoughts. But I'm talking about just the average woman. Like most women are looking for a protector and a provider,
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong with that.
and there's nothing wrong with that. The reason why I think a lot of women, like, and probably it's more so when we were younger, right? When in high school and stuff like that, they like bad boys and guys who are more on the thuggish side of things, is because of the uncompromising kind of attitude that comes along with that image.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
The alpha, that kind of, you know what I mean?
They-
Because
I'm with you, John. I strongly agree with what you're saying because I feel like it's not saying they look at just, especially with independent women these days. I'm not saying all of them looking for a provider, but they want that guy, like you say, a protector. They want that
Security.
man head of the household. They don't want. They
Security.
want him to bring something to the table that she like. Okay, it's not about my pockets, but bring something to the table that makes you say, "Hey, he's the head of the household." Even if I'm making more money than him, he's the head of the household. You know what I'm saying? So it got to be something.
I got a question.
I
I got
go
a
ahead.
question.
Hit me.
Have y'all ever cared about how much money a women that you were
I
dating
don't.
make?
Hell no.
I
I
don't.
don't give a damn.
I don't.
Hell no.
I
And
don't.
here's why. And I
don't.
will say it right now,
I
and I
don't.
say this all the time. And I actually just had this conversation recently with somebody.
Two incomes is better than one.
That's number one. And here's the other
It's
piece
good,
of
but
it.
I don't-
I'm
I got-
always
I got a
gonna
caveat. Go
but
ahead,
hold
but I
on.
got a caveat.
I'm always gonna make enough money, even if I gotta have 7 jobs. And right now, with all of the stuff I do with media, I have multiple jobs.
Yeah.
I'm going to make enough money to take care of me. If you got enough money to take care of you, hell, we can spoil each other. We're gonna be good out here.
But my thing is like, yeah, like,
And we
I
can
don't
build.
care. I never asked a woman how much money do
No.
you make.
No.
Because like I'm trying to calculate. All right, how much?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Now on the flip side, now on the flip side, but
that's
let me
an
say
ego.
this.
That's a male ego thing.
no,
you know what
but-
I'm saying?
I don't care. I
that-
hope
but no,
she-
not you. But a
Right,
lot of
yeah.
guys. That's a thing they can't let go because they feel like they don't have no
Man, the
control.
hell with
You
that.
want-
If
but
you-
but
you
that's
know-
true though. Because
It is true. It's true. And my thing on that is this: to hell with that.
you don't
Because
you don't want to be replaceable.
well, right. That's what it comes down
Average,
to.
If you like, my thing is like, all right, like I don't want to be average because average could be exchanged.
For average
Any-
or
anything.
anything.
That's why you got to bring something different to the table. It don't have to be financial. It could be conversation. It could be something that she's like, wow, he's doing everything that I like.
But I tell you this though, that is a part of it. But
You
at
better
the-
provide more than money. I'll tell you that.
No,
I'll
yeah,
say
no.
that.
But it's not even just the dollar amount.
I know a lot of women.
No,
that
I'm
says
no.
differently.
Well, the thing is that like the average man is struggling. The average person right now. is-
Absolutely.
I say average
Absolutely.
person. It ain't just a
Yeah,
man.
that's
It's-
fair.
So when you tell her, so this is the thing. When you tell, and this is this dude that I listen to, and his name is Jason Black. He has a YouTube show. He said, when you tell a woman that she should settle for the average dude, in her mind, right? She is processing that as saying that you want me to be okay with struggling
or less than, right?
or living less than, like,
I'm glad you said something.
But what does average dude mean, though?
But you know what?
Check this
I
out.
always tell.
What does the average dude mean?
I'm gonna get to that, but I
we
always
gotta
tell.
talk about that specifically.
But
Yeah.
because they,
That's big.
yeah,
No, because
no,
men-
you
you
don't.
need to
We
know
don't
this.
know what's an average dude is really.
There's
Well,
there's
everybody,
data out there.
but everybody got a different standard too. So I would never tell her to lower her certain standards, to just be with an average guy, just to be happy.
Because she could struggle on her
Because
own.
yeah, what's
I
the
can
movie?
talk about
She could
this
do
in
bad
the
all by herself. That that movie they all got. But
Okay.
I just look at it before you talk, Kenny. I just look at it like
Kenny ready.
average guy could be anybody. It all depends on the standard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's just like a guy. I would never tell him to lower his standards just to be with somebody that I don't care. She walked in the room, you like, dang,
I'm gonna pass it to Kenny. I'm gonna pass it to Kenny, but this is why you can't just use terms like successful.
Thank you.
Like average.
Thank
there
you.
needs to be a number. There needs to be something out there that you can say, like, all right, I need to get to this level, tangible. We got to live as men, especially as black men in the society we live in. We got to live in a world of figures and numbers and data because we're competing in a society that's already
built for classification.
Yes,
That's
where
what
you're
it
already-
is.
where you're
We
already-
we live in a
We're
classification
classification.
society.
Where you're already-
You have to have a letter based on your political affiliation. You have to have a number based on your income.
Your
You
look.
have to have a particular
'Cause you're
living
already
situation.
15.
Everything is a box.
It's a game. If you're
Yes.
already 15 points down, all right, I need to, like, I'm already down 15 points before the game
I
starts.
gotta knock down a bunch of threes,
Yeah,
baby.
yeah. So, like,
I need Steph Curry.
That's why, like, and I don't think we do that as black people when it comes to, this is just black people in general, but mainly for our black men. Like, no, you need to be striving to attain certain things. I remember I talked to y'all like a few weeks ago, like I don't care about cars. I recently started caring about Mercedes, BMW. It had nothing to do with me wanting stuff that is nice to show off, but
That's what you wanted.
But it's the thing. But for me, it's like you have to have some type of goal, something physical to push you to go outside of yourself. Because being comfortable, suffering, or struggling, or
Step outside the box, basically.
you have to have something there that's gonna make you say, like, yo, like, I need to do a little bit more. Because the thing when a woman is looking at, right, when she's evaluating a man, is one, are you respected by other men? A woman cares about if you're respected by other men. That's what a woman wants to know, because women are not our peers. Men are our peers. Just like we're not women peers. Women
Are other women.
Women's peers are
Other
other
women,
women.
yeah.
Our peers are other men. So we want to know, do other women respect this woman? A woman wants to know, do other men respect this man? So, like, what things besides, because men, we don't look at another man and say, yo, man, that guy's a really nice guy and he's, really cool and, he does, he's, nah.
You be like, yo, he drives such and such, and he lives such and such,
that's
and he works such and such.
And that's just like when a female say, "What you think about it?" I'm like, "He cool. I assume he's all right.
I don't pay him no mind.
You know what I'm saying? As far as I know, he's a good guy. That's all I know.
We're looking to see, like, if a dude come around your sister, right?
Yeah, of course.
Can he provide, and is he gonna protect her?
Right.
I'll make it simple.
I'll make that question.
I'll make it simpler than that. I'll make it much simpler than that. So we all know that in terms of wants and needs, it's all relative.
Tailor made.
You know what I'm saying? It's all relative. But at the end of the day, with it being all relative, the one thing you really just need to be able to do is to provide something that she can't provide for herself,
Yep.
or better than she can. That's it.
Yeah.
Money is not one of them. If you're black and you want a black woman, fuck it. Money is not one of them.
I believe money. Is
When,
part of
well, black
It all
women-
depends.
Black women are the
Everybody
most-
different.
Well,
Black
I'll
women
say
are
it
the
this
most
way.
successful demographic in this country, and that's almost part of it is
But
actually
that's
by
not
design.
all black women.
Because no, but in general, in terms of percentages,
I get what you're saying,
in terms of percentages, black women
I'm
will
gonna let you
have.
finish.
but just don't say all black
No,
women.
no, no,
No,
no.
he
no,
said-
okay.
He said by
In
percentage.
In,
Yeah.
general,
Okay.
by percentages, black women are the most successful demographic in this country. We are basically, black men are basically the lowest. And if you want, so a black man that wants a black woman, great if you want to be financially stable or you want to be wealthy. Okay, that's fine. There are a lot of reasons that get in the way and whatnot. But at the same time, part of a lot of our issues is we focus on very, very singular things. So in a lot of cases, a lot of black men will focus on specifically money. And this black man might be of this upper percentile in terms of being financially well off. But the problem is he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah,
And-
that's and that's a given. Like, and when I talk about this stuff, that's relative. Like that all is. I put it like this. Like people talking about like, yo, like, you know, what are you looking for in a woman? And it's like, oh, you don't care about like, you know, looks and things like that. I mean, that's just.
I don't give a
that
damn
is
what nobody
no,
says.
Listen to me.
Looks
That
do
is
count.
the cost of admission. Yes, talking and discussing that.
Keep it
Now,
100.
but everybody
That's the same
choice.
thing with a man.
Everybody likes something different.
No, I agree with that.
So
No,
what you like and I like might be different.
But if I'm not
Yeah.
physically
Yeah,
attracted to her,
True.
I
That's
don't
the same
care what's
thing.
in
Hold
her
on.
brain.
Hold on. I will count.
And she don't care what's in mine.
But-
if she look
but-
at me and she's
but
like,
what-
that's
what-
an ugly dude, it
Physical
doesn't matter how
attraction.
but
smart I am.
let me ask y'all this: Have you ever met some woman you wasn't physically attracted to her at first, but once you start talking
Thank
to her,
you.
and got to know her,
Thank you.
things
But it's
things
but
have that
that's
ever
the
happened though?
cost of admission.
I just call that surface. This person has
Yeah,
not
that's the
experienced you.
cost
They haven't
of
been around
admission.
you or
Yeah.
anything.
But
From
I'm
the
saying you wasn't
distance-
attracted to her at first.
But no, I get that.
I get
but
that.
after that, after I'm attracted to you, because I've loved a lot of women, but I ain't gonna marry all I ain't marrying them women.
That's real. That's fair. And yeah, that's fair.
I ain't marrying them.
I just, to me, I think the other piece of that, right, when you're talking about, a potential significant other from that standpoint, is both of y'all have to define what you view as success, right? Because
That's important.
unfortunately, there are certain career paths that at times have caps. That's true. You see what I'm saying? You could be the number 2 in charge of wherever you work. But if you only make XYZ amount of dollars, if there's a dollar figure in the other person's mind, and I'm talking about male or female, does that mean you're all of a sudden not successful? Hell, I'm number 2 and I'm working my tail off and I might become number 1. But in whatever business, my point is every business does not end with $1 million salary. So I think sometimes we have to also, I don't want to say redefine, but you have to be realistic with what success means.
Also depends on where you live.
Yeah, of course, because
if you live in Silicon Valley, what you need to be above average is different.
it's different than what you need to be in Charlotte or in Knoxville, Tennessee, or in right. So
that's relative to
absolutely correct. And I think we have to, getting back to your point about the significance of the other person. That's what you have to be aware of.
But that's why I say, like, if you want to be successful at being with someone, finding like the right person, focusing on being able to provide something that in general is going to be something that you feel like a lot of women can't provide for themselves or don't do very well at it. And in a lot of cases, it's not going to be money.
But I get that, but
For the record, for
Wait,
people
no,
at home,
but-
he's not talking about just sex neither.
But wait-
I just need to clarify that.
that's a cost.
Sex is on my
Because
mind.
there's some people thinking, oh, he's just talking about
That is
if
the
he lay
cost.
Yeah, completely not talking
Of
about that.
That is the
admission.
cost of admission.
Say it again, John.
That's the cost of doing business.
Yes.
The relationships are a business transaction based on leverage. So I agree with that perspective in regards to you have to be able to provide something. When women talk to their girlfriends about their man, what things do they talk about?
I don't know. We don't know.
They
Really,
want to know what they.
I'll put it this
My
way.
man bought me this. My
We-
man
we-
did this for me. My man got this. even if it's not expensive, once again, like it's not a thing of in regards to because like we as men, when we're dating a woman, we are competing with their exes.
Or
and
we're
vice
just
versa.
or we're just competing with the world. Shit.
Yeah,
I feel like, hey,
we get to
and
it
vice versa.
because no, I mean the thing is that women actually have to compete harder for men than men have to compete for women. The reason why
I don't agree
because
with that.
no, you want to know why?
I don't
Because
agree
the
with that.
amount of men who are qualified
what
Out-
they're looking for, certain
are
standards.
qualified to actually be because certain men should not be dating, and the kind of women that men that most women are looking for are scarce compared to the amount of women that men are looking for. It's
Okay, you're talking about mathematics. I'm talking about choice. And at the end of the day, at the end of the
Say
day,
that again.
At the
in
end
regard,
of
what do you mean in regards to choice?
in regards to so in regards to choice, like we'll just narrow it down to just black people, black men and black women.
Yeah, because
If we do that, the black man is going to be way less choosy than the black woman, and that's what I'm saying. And outside of already like the obstacles and the
in regards
influences,
to what a relationship, in regards to
just in regards to what she is going to actually pick, like for you to win, she is going to be way more choosy than you will be. It's that's how it is. That's why I say it's harder for us. It's harder for us because the people that we're choosing from are already being more choosy than we are. So if you win, nigga, you won for real.
That's exactly what I said.
You saying it's easier for us than it is for them. It's not.
No. Like we have more options.
We have more options, but those options are not choosing us.
What do you mean?
No, like okay, we have more options.
Yeah.
But within those options, you have a very, very small, like a smaller percent. And granted, guys will raise their level of attraction, but in general, we have a ton of options. We do. That is not.
No, I get it.
That is for sure. But in those options are being choosy.
All right, let me be honest. Because let's be 100% honest. You know, I love the Lord, right? But we're gonna be honest here. So when it comes to women, right, and this is reality, like women settle when it comes to a partner more than a man will settle for a partner.
I don't agree.
Because they have because our clock doesn't expire as soon as their clock expires.
I don't agree with that one. I'm sorry, Judd. I might not agree with that one on that one.
But no, your point is a totally different subject because now you're actually talking about women in a particular age range.
No, but it matters
because trust me, I'm 40.
When are women most attractive?
Definitely.
You can date a 25-year-old right now.
I'm not going to.
I think part of the problem. Hold on, but there's
I
something
couldn't
to
either.
this.
I got a 25-year-old son. I can't do that.
Well, yeah, you do. But I think that's part of the. I don't want to say issue, but part of the thing that's going on, right, is that oftentimes in society, and oftentimes with black men, we are doing a lot of things not based on what we want or who we want to be, but it's based on what we think that woman wants or wants us to be. And I think that's a mistake.
I agree with that.
Because at the end of the day,
I got a perfect analogy.
We all kind of have to define our own success from a standpoint of who we want to be in life and how we are going along that path. Because at the end of the day, just because I got a whole bunch of money and I own this, that, or the third, to the point that was made earlier, if I'm still an asshole, why does she want to be with me anyway? So at the end of the day, we have to be careful trying to define. I know what you're getting ready to say, and I'm going to let you say it. But at the end of the day, we have to understand that we have to maximize ourselves as humans before we try to fit ourselves into the box that we may think another human wants us to fit.
I'm a
perfect example.
I
just have a perfect example.
Hold on. Before you go there, but like when you said the question you asked earlier about did black men lower their standard? A lot of that I feel like is what females starting to accept. So if you accept a guy that's look like who did it and why don't care about himself or hygiene or whatever. If you accept that, guys think it's okay. So they like, okay, I see he got a bad one over there. So guess
I
what?
meet the standard of that.
I'm gonna meet his standard. I'm gonna be just like him because guess what? If I'm saying I'm gonna find a bad one just like that because it's what they're accepting. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they should still hold us to a certain standard.
I got something.
Black people in this country are cultivated to remain as children. So that's why you have that.
Check this out. Matter of fact, I'll start with Dwayne's point. For example, like what Dwayne just said, super true. So we've all dealt with women who will always they'll complain about how men approach them and all this other stuff, right? I always tell them this one thing. The reason that man is approaching you that way is because that shit worked on somebody else.
Yeah.
Word up. You know what I'm saying?
I can't do nothing but laugh and tell you you're right. You're right. It's
you talk about what women accept. What women accept. So you know what?
That's why I say it's what they allow.
I'm listening to what y'all saying, and the thing is that women's gonna be in my DMs and inbox talking about, yo, you got to get women on this show.
They're gonna be in all of our DMs.
And
you know what? Here's the reality.
They gonna like,
let me say this.
We got something to say.
But let me say
this.
But let me make a point on that. There are going to be a bunch of women that are the quote exception to that rule.
Oh yeah.
And then if the same show exists with women talking about many of the same issues, concepts, constructs, however you want to phrase it, there are going to be men that swear we are the exception to that rule.
Yeah.
Guess what? There are exceptions to all of these rules because not everybody is built the same. But to Kenny's point, at the end of the day, all of us in society, right? We're going to be one of two things. We're going to be whoever the hell we want to be as our own person, or we're going to be whoever the hell we think the other sex wants us to be.
Thank you.
It's going to be one of those two.
Can I give an example?
Anybody out there can say they disagree, but guess what? They're going to be in one of them damn boxes.
Can I give you an example?
This is the example I wanted like, to agree with what you were saying. Typically, in the traditional sense of dating. This game. And what happens, majority of the time, is that.
And one day we got to talk about what is dating on this show, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Lord, have
but
mercy.
A majority of the time, either party is going to present themselves as what they think the other person wants.
A representative of themselves.
So here's the thing, and I focus on this with my sons as well. Is fuck what they like, what you think they want. Be a stellar person.
Be who you are.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, eventually it's gonna get revealed.
Like, so
be yourself.
Okay, so you know how like for a lot of people, first impressions are important. Like for me, they aren't. First impressions are important to a lot of people, but what that does is it forces people to craft themselves into this idea of what they think is going to be acceptable the first time they see you, meet you, talk to you, or whatever. And the way that I think about everything, and especially when it comes to teaching our kids, honestly, it's really about how stellar of a person can you become? Because if you're going to impress somebody, it shouldn't take any fucking work. It shouldn't. If I'm going to impress a woman, it should be on this. If I actually do impress her, it should be based on the strength of what I fucking do all the time. If I got to go out of my way to impress you, like right now, like how long can I continue to do that?
Well, you're gonna find out the truth eventually.
But the thing is that
Yeah. But you know what you're gonna impress somebody. You don't. It's all depends on the atmosphere. You know what I'm saying? So it all depends on where you're located or where you are. It's not like I'm gonna go in there like, I gotta go in there with a 3-piece suit on or something like that. It's just once you talk to that person, you start realizing who they are. It's all about conversations because you trying to feel them out just like they're trying to feel you out. So
for a man trying to impress a woman, the way you impress a woman is by being a man.
Yep.
You have to be a complete man.
Your own complete
I would say your own man.
Denzel Washington is a very good example, right? Yeah, he's got a lot of, well, it plays into it too as well because of the fact that he's got accomplishments. He's got the confidence. He's got that
He's been
aura.
his own man.
He's got that aura about him because of the accomplishments that Denzel wouldn't be able to be Denzel if he didn't have those accomplishments attached to his thing. Because you have to have, because if you're a man, like once again, this is just primal. If you are a man, you have to have something that people can see for them to even want to even admire you, even at the lowest, even if it's just a person like one of you, like a coach or whatever. But in order for you to respect that coach, he's got to have some sort of accomplishments. He's got to have some type of accolades. He's got to have some type of.
Accomplishments are relative too, though.
No, these are tangible things that actually people know.
No, they're still relative. Somebody else, if what you would call an accomplishment for yourself, somebody else or a woman would not consider that an accomplishment. So,
give an example in regards to that, because like, I'll give you something because
you work for a Fortune 500 company and you got promoted to being a number 2, and this other chick looks at that shit and be like, "So the fuck what?" Or whatever.
Like that. That's it.
It's but it's saying it's relative. So the way I think about it, Denzel would be Denzel without his accomplishments, because the first thing that people recognize, if they do not know who you are whatsoever, they don't know your name, they don't know where you come from, they don't know what you do, they don't know none of that shit. The first thing they're going to go off are going to be intangibles. That's all they have to go off. Number 1 is going to be how you look, because they can only see you from a distance. Number 2, once they actually start talking to you or once they actually start to engage with you, you have not given any information about yourself whatsoever. At all. So what they're going off at that point are intangibles. If you are the kind of, put it like this, I know for a fact, if I meet a woman and we're cool and whatnot, and she's like, like wants to meet my friends, right? I know for a fact, if I introduce her to Dwayne, I know Dwayne, number 1, is going to be the same way all the time. He's not going to go out of his way to do some dumb shit or to do this and do that or some other shit.
Or sell me
more
than I am.
You know what? I know, and I don't have to do much. I already know if I put her in contact with him, I'll be like, yo, this is my boy Dwayne. And at that point, he's good. Like, I know that. And it's because of his intangibles. It's because of the kind of person he is. After that, if she wants to be impressed by what he does and all this other stuff, cool. But before that, it's all intangibles. And she'll probably like him before she even has his fucking food.
So listen to this, right?
Yeah, because he be cooking and shit.
No, but
I do too, though, for the record.
Nah, but the thing is,
You know what
you're
I'm
saying Denzel would be Denzel without his accomplishments. The reason why I don't agree with that, because like, as a man, right? As a man, you have to have things that people can see. Even Denzel is Denzel because of who he is. He was able to elevate himself.
What's the difference between you and Denzel, though?
What's the difference between me and Denzel?
Yeah.
Money.
Denzel.
No.
You can say that.
But the
I'm just joking, though.
the reality
is fulfilled potential.
No, it's not.
But let me. Can I get
like
some?
that
Hold on,
question.
before you say something about
I love that question.
The only difference between you and him is more people know who he is because he's on television.
But why do people know who he is?
Because he's on television.
How did he get on television?
But let me tell you
worked his
this:
ass
he wanted to
off.
be an actor. He worked.
You trying to say you don't work your ass off?
Yeah, I work my ass off, but at the same time, like,
He just took a different path than you, though.
no,
That's all it is.
No, listen. At the same time, like, he's gotten to a point to where he doesn't have to introduce himself.
He's a
anymore.
public
You're right,
figure.
but that's
He's a
where.
public
But
figure.
John,
but
to
how
that
did
point,
he? But at one point, he wasn't a public figure.
You're right.
Hey,
But
wait a minute.
that's where.
Let me.
Hold on. That's where I have a problem with this. Hold on.
Denzel.
That's
Yeah,
where
but
I have a
listen,
problem.
No, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Like, fuck
But
reputation
that, no,
for
hold
seeing
on.
you.
That's
Like,
where I have a problem with the construct of the conversation. Okay, I apologize to the people listening because I'm getting pissed off, and here's why. Because what happens is we have allowed, and it goes back to that concept of standard. We have allowed because somebody's ass is not famous, or because they're at hold on. Because someone is not famous, or someone is not recognizable when they walk in a room, or someone is not recognizable by the difference of the car they pull up in. All of a sudden, they're construed as different than anybody else.
Understand.
There is no work ethic that Denzel has that you do not have.
No, understand this. That's not. I'm not talking about simply just based on fame, because like when I say accolades, like it depends on where you're at, because there's people who have accolades who are not on TMZ or are not famous, who are not have 2 million followers. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when accolades. I'm talking about like you have something that you can physically. You have data. You have a resume, not something that is just like, yeah, of course, intangibles matter. You know, like, yeah, being a nice person, being kind, working hard, blah, blah, blah. Of course, right? That is the cost of doing business.
Before you even get there,
But-
though, the
but
intangibles are first.
Everybody has a resume. We
Right.
all
no,
sit
I
up here
agree.
got a resume.
No, and I'm not
So-
saying that that's not the case. I'm saying is that as a man, like if you want to be respected as a man, nobody is going to say you're respected as a man just simply off of the fact that you're a nice person. You may be respected to an extent. Yes, I agree. But if you're trying to be above average, and this is what I'm talking about, being competitive. When I'm talking about being competitive, it's not enough just to be a nice guy. Your family is going to love you regardless. But at the same time, if you want to be admired by your son, if you want to be admired by your daughter, by your wife, by the people in your community, you must be able to provide something tangible to that community.
But that starts to speak to I think that starts to speak to a different issue. Because and here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. I'll use my father as an example, and I hate to do this and he would hate the fact that I'm using him as an example, not because of anything negative, but just because he doesn't like this kind of attention. But listen, man, my father is 2 times retired, served in the military, this, that, and the third. I view him as a very much accomplished man.
I agree.
Now, a lot of average people, when he walks in a room, because of the way my dad carries himself, very simplistic. He doesn't floss money or flaunt money or things like that. They're not going to view him as a quote accomplished man.
When your dad walks into
And that's
the building,
that's part of the issue.
do the people around your dad respect him? Do the people around your dad admire him? Do the people around your dad look at you?
But that's after they know who he is, though.
Exactly.
That's a difference.
Which is
but
why I
it's a
said
part
it's a
of the-
bigger societal problem.
But it's a part of the fact that he's been able to provide something for you guys too, as well. Not just the simple fact
But-
that.
but-
he's just
but
your-
John-
But that's the
But John,
societal
the thing
problem.
is-
That's
thing
what
is-
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying that's the societal problem. If I got to lay out my damn resume to you for you to respect me based on the way I look when I walk in a room, we have a bigger problem. And that's
It's a-
my
it's a
entire
shallow
point.
Because-
once
pond.
again, that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the fact that as a leader of your household and in your community, it's not enough to just give lip service. You have to provide proof of what you're telling me or what you're saying to me. If you're going to be a mentor, if you're going to lead a family, if you're going to lead a community, you
But-
have to have some. That's what I'm talking about in regards to the standard. It's not about being famous. It's not about having 1 million followers on Instagram. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about in your realm where you dwell, in your community, what tangible are you providing to the community that is making the community better? Which would make people in the community respect you as a leader in that community.
Okay.
Everybody is different. I look at it like this. Every man is going to do things different.
Right.
It don't mean that you have to, like I train with kids. I work with kids. I coach football.
And those kids
so,
respect
so
you,
those
correct?
kids respect me. But
And why
I
did
do
they
I do
respect you?
things differently.
But Dwayne, listen,
you know,
before you played college ball.
I played college ball.
Arena football.
But they
And
didn't-
respect you.
No, but let me
because
tell
of
you
what
this.
you've
Hold up.
done
No,
too
no,
as
no,
well,
no.
bro.
Let me tell you this. Before I told them I played arena football, by me just talking to them, I earned their respect just talking to them. I didn't tell them what I've accomplished, things I have done, college ball, none of that things. They respect me by just talking to them, and it's the way you talk to kids. So the thing is, like, I know certain kids I could yell at, and certain kids I just got to actually talk to. So they respect me because they know, hey, coach, you're going to be the same person every time we talk to you, regardless if you are upset or regardless how bad we make a mistake, you still going to be the same person. You're not going to flip on us and change, be like, okay, now he wishy-washy. No. So they realize that, hey, you're the same person every time. So they respect that because they see something. They like, hey, at least he's not like this person I know that's down the street. At one moment, they cool with me. And the next moment, they flip-floppy.
And listen to this. And I'm talking about results, they respect you because what you're telling them works. And they see it happening in real time and it works.
But they don't know nothing about my.
But still,
That's what I'm saying.
What did you provide to them?
Just
you provided
it's just,
to them results because what you told them was true and it worked.
It's not that I'm not saying it all worked. I'm not saying all work, but I earned. What I did is earn their trust.
By telling
it's earning their trust. Is basically when I earn their trust is whatever I talk to them, what I teach them, even if it doesn't work. You know, a lot of times, a lot of things don't work. Some plays we take it in.
Let me say this.
Throw it in the trash.
Does it work?
But
they throw it in the trash.
No, we throw it in the trash. But the thing is, it's about just once you talk to them and they realize that okay, he's respectful. He's not talking. He's not sitting up here mumbling.
You're telling him the right thing, though.
But here's the kicker to this. Let me I not to cut you off, D-Lou, because you're both right. And I know people at home are like, what the hell does he mean? They're both right, and they're saying two different things. No, this is what I mean. We ended up circumstantially in a different place in the conversation. And here's what I mean. When you're talking about an athlete, there is a tangibility, there is a level of respect that comes with the accomplishment. Why can you teach me the game if you haven't done it? But when you're talking about meeting a mate, if my resume is more important than the person I am and how I treat you,
I'm good.
We're in the wrong place.
I agree with that.
And so I think hold on.
But you know what I'm going to say.
No, but it is. But what I'm saying it is the cost of doing business. Yeah. I don't disagree with that.
My thing is,
but what I'm saying is, in those two environments, the resume plays differently. Because if right, let me say if the other person, right, from a relationship standpoint, not essentially if you're working with younger athletes, a business transaction. But if you're talking about it from a romantic involvement status or concept, the reality is my resume in terms of every single thing I've done is not as relevant
at this point.
Right, really ever. Because it comes down to how we interact and work with each other.
What you were saying, the resume might come to a point where down the line they're like, okay, I see all this. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Can
now,
I take it to the next step?
Can I take it to the next step? Now let me see what else I'm gonna like.
Do you have this ambition?
Or,
all of that?
Even if they don't like some of your resume or things that you accomplish, or they like, okay, that's all right, you know. But they say, he might have some room to grow. And now it all depends.
Or she, because we say that about women too.
Yeah, because the thing is, I could tell you this one thing I know from some of the females I know, they want to see if he has somewhere, is he still trying to grow? Right. He's not complacent. He's not sitting in one spot. Or even if you could
downplay your resume.
I would.
And what I mean by that is, and here's what I mean by that. It goes back to John's point earlier, right? That financial literacy, the financial well-being. Just because you live in a one-bedroom apartment or you live in a small townhouse or you live in a small single-family home, does not define how much money you have or make.
No, that's true. That's true.
So the other piece of that is, for people at home, male, female, whatever, black women or black men, don't get caught up in what you think the resume looks like. Because just because I live in a two-bedroom townhouse, and I'm not talking about myself, but just because somebody might live in a two-bedroom townhouse, that person may have $2 million in the bank.
No, but
you don't know that.
But she might be simple. She might be somebody simple.
But also the thing with that is, like, you also got to understand, like, when it comes to having things like, you should always want to do better. So, like, for example, I put myself in an example.
But better does not mean unnecessary.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, but you should strive to do better because, like, in any relationship, not even talking about money, right? If you're in a relationship with you're married, right, and you get to a point where things get dull in the relationship, you have to
improve it.
Change.
Yeah, you have to fix it.
Improve. You got to do something better. You got to go. My woman should not expect the same things from me that I bought her. Like, she should expect, 2 years ago, John got me, this, and then I should try to up the ante 2 years, 2 years from this point, like I should try. That should be something I should be looking forward to doing because I'm doing better. I'm pushing myself.
It could be the same thing once you reach them 30 to 40 years.
No, but
in life, they like,
and when I mean
good.
better, I mean something different. Like I may have got you a watch this year. Next year, like 2 years from now,
Basically, you talking about keeping a spice up in the relationship.
I may try to get you a car, right? And I may not get you a car 2 years. I may get you something else. But it's just a thing of like trying to better yourself. As men, we have to strive to always be better than we were last year. We have to always.
To that point, we need to be better today than we were yesterday.
In every aspect.
Let's just start with that.
Better 1 second ago.
And especially as men, and you're talking about in a race-based competitive environment, we have to push ourselves.
I don't disagree with that.
We have to push ourselves.
But at the same point in time,
not to say that everything is about money, but it matters. It is a big.
I got a question.
Here's my point on that, though. Here's my point on that. And the reason why I made the point I made earlier is because of this. Do I need a 7-bedroom house?
That's stupid.
Hold on. Do I need a 7-bedroom house? Because some people pay attention to this.
Some people need it. Some people just want it.
Here's the thing. Do I need a 7-bedroom house when I could have a 2-bedroom house that's paid off after 15 years of a mortgage and I got $2 million in the bank?
But that's just being
you. It depends.
But some people are like, well, why don't you have a bigger house? You can afford it.
I don't have a problem with people who do that.
But I don't either. But what I'm saying is that doesn't necessarily make one person better than the other one.
It doesn't.
But some people in our society, that's the point I'm making. I'm not disagreeing with you. The point I'm making is there are people in our society that view it that way. And to me, that can be and has been at times an error. Right? Just because I don't live a certain way or I don't drive a certain thing, that doesn't mean, damn it, I can't buy whatever you want.
Question.
Yeah.
As a black man, how do we at this table or yourself define yourself? Right now, I'm just saying, how do we define ourselves? How do you define yourself? Don't put us as a whole. Think about yourself personally. How you define yourself? Because we talked about like relationship and stuff like that. How do you define yourself? Do you feel like you're ready for a relationship, or do you feel like you can meet anybody right now, or do you feel like, I got to better myself to meet the one I want?
No, I could. Once again, like I don't have an issue in regards to being in a relationship and continuing to improve myself, because even when you're in a relationship, you should be striving to improve yourself.
Yes.
Now, broke dudes should not be dating. I believe that completely.
I agree.
Dudes who are broke.
If you can't pay your bills, why are you taking her out to dinner?
Excuse me, like y'all need to stop, like, because there's no rush. Like from men, from women, y'all gotta get. I mean, because the clock is. It's just the reality.
It all depends on what she see into that broke guy.
But
I'm talking about just women in general.
Worry
like,
about their clock.
A lot of women. Gotcha. I'm gonna tell you this, and I may get crucified for this, but a lot of women play too many games.
No, you won't get crucified
at a young age.
Nope. Yeah, you will, but
they'll turn around and say we do the same thing too.
And when women are, and this is the truth, like when women are younger, they have more leverage in regards to relationships and dating, because they're at their peak. 25, 26, 27-year-old woman, like, I mean, come on, like they're at their freaking zenith. You know what I mean?
30,
men
32,
as they get older, when men get older, right? 30s, mid 30s especially. That's what, especially black men, is when we're starting to make a lot more money, because for most black men, we're like, we ain't locked up, we ain't in jail, like we ain't get shot by the police yet, you know what I mean? So like, I'm alive, like, bro, like, it's time to get it, right? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we and the thing is, for men, as we get older, we tend to get better later in life. This is just a fact.
Can I address something before y'all go around? I am the oldest one here, but when you start meeting older women, a lot of things you're saying that they peak at 25. A lot of them, when they older, they feel like they still back at 25.
But if you want to have a child, brother, not
talking about a child base.
I was waiting.
Not a child. I ain't talking about child wise.
I was waiting because we're having a biased conversation.
But see, some of them still wants to get married. Don't not saying a child,
Yeah, I
but they
get
still
that.
want to get married and things like that. They still got this.
Nah.
So
There's a lot of beautiful 40.
So check this out.
late,
yes, it
40-year-old
is.
women.
So-
Yes, Lord.
This
so, so check this out. So earlier when you were talking about like standards and whatnot, I think there was a communication error because at first you were talking about what's acceptable of a man, but it really what it became is what's acceptable in terms of being a leader. And in terms of being a leader, I absolutely accept what you were saying in terms of being able to provide something useful in terms of being a leader. But I think that in terms of being defined as a man, that I'm not going to sit here and say that being a man is being a leader because we're not all leaders, number one. All right. Now, we've been having a very biased conversation about women because the women that you're talking about are women who still want kids. And I'm telling you right now, if you meet a chick who's 30 and and she's sure she doesn't want kids, different game. Totally different game. Totally different game.
Yeah, I get that.
No, so for the women who want kids, want more kids, or whatever, okay. If you're a man and you go in it with an understanding that if we're about to get serious and we both know that kids are on the table, things are going to be way different because you are literally on the clock.
My thing
That's
is-
an understanding
but the
before
thing
you
is
get
that-
deep
nah,
into the
Some people
relationship.
some people don't do that though. Some people don't actually understand that. Like this is a very different game here. Like for her, like right now, especially if you're wanting to have the kind of traditional relationship, meaning that if you're going to have kids, you're going to get married first and all this, like you're literally under the clock. And there's a lot of things that can end up being missing from your relationship because you're trying to get to a certain point by a certain time.
No, I agree with that.
You know what I mean?
I'm not disagreeing with
But
that.
when if you're dealing with women who either they done had their kids already or they sure
That's
that
what
they
I'm
don't
looking
want or they
Yeah,
sure
I mean,
that they don't want
and
kids,
hey,
trust me.
my thing, I get
Trust
it.
me, the game
We
is
good.
I'm talking.
totally different.
I'm talking more so in just like because there's nothing 100% in
No.
anything in life. The only
Correct,
thing
correct.
100% is what
Your
death day or whatever.
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
about it. That's about it. That's the only thing is 100%
Stay black,
in
pay
life,
taxes,
right?
and die.
Being
Those are the
black,
three things that are gonna
being
happen.
black is the only thing that's going to stay the
I-
same when you
so
die.
Yeah,
let's just
I'ma
say
tell
you're
you
not on
this.
the clock though.
I'm gonna tell you this: nothing is gonna be perfect.
No.
You're gonna have some ups and downs.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing as black men we got to realize. Also, it's not gonna be perfect. It's gonna be some ups and downs. Either you want to deal with it or you're not gonna deal with it. Some things you're gonna have to deal with that you don't like, but it depends on how much of it you're gonna deal with. It just either you're gonna learn how to compromise and y'all meet halfway.
Boom.
Because if you're not able to meet halfway, you'll never be successful. Neither one of you.
And let's not get it twisted also. And this is really a shout out to the women out there. At the end of the day, if she's not making you better and you not making her better, y'all both wasting y'all damn time.
I agree.
So-
And
You
so
just
there are a
mentioned
lot of
something too,
women
Dwayne.
out there that do their damnedest to make us as men better, and that's real.
So, Dwayne, you just mentioned something, and it made me think about something. So, a lot of times, part of your standards, I think if you focus on deal breakers in the beginning and make sure that they are not plentiful.
My non-negotiables are non-negotiable.
Exactly. But here's the problem. A lot of people, I don't even want to say some people will have a lot of non-negotiables. A bunch of them, a majority of which will be completely
A
unrealistic.
lot of people lie to themselves, man, and think they.
You're
have
right. No,
damn right.
you're right.
A lot of people
But
lie to
but
themselves.
when it comes to those things, like really figuring out what your deal breakers are and narrowing them down to really what's a deal breaker, it really comes to like your identity. How well do you actually know yourself? Because
Say
a
that
lot
again.
of because
Say that again.
still, a lot of people will come up with deal breakers ain't based on shit in their life. It's some shit that somebody else had,
Somebody else told
and it
them.
just saying it sounds good to them. Before you know it, they got like 15, 20 fucking deal breakers. Like, yo, you're never going to be happy.
I could get into that, but that'll take a whole nother.
That's a whole other topic.
But we've been talking about standards.
That's a series.
We've been talking, but
That's a 5-part series.
We've been talking about standards, and a good part of it. And like, I'm glad you said this. What you're going to tolerate, where you'll compromise. Like, you really need to know yourself very well to actually figure that out. And the person that you pick, the person that you choose, and they choose you, man. They got to know that too.
So, hey, John, I can say you this. Next topic, we always say, hey, what is a deal breaker for most black men?
I don't think we can say most. You have to
For a lot of black.
You have to be
Well,
specific.
I can say for a lot. I ain't gonna say most. I'm gonna say a lot of black men.
The question, no, you know,
the people that you know that you've been around.
The question is going to be,
okay, I got you.
What
Okay.
should be deal breakers for black men? What should be?
But your deal breaker might be different from mine.
She ain't got no ambition. She got to go.
And once again, what should be, because all the other stuff is personal preference.
I need her to want
But
something
things
for
that
herself.
should be deal breakers are very like essential regardless across the board. There's things that should be across the board.
Well,
no matter if you are 40,
Okay.
50.
I don't know. I don't know.
Specific.
That
Without being
age group might be a
specific.
little different.
Without being specific, like, you don't have to name what it is. But would you say something that should be across the board is something tangible or intangible?
Well, I
The
would
way
say
I see it, the ones that would stick out the most for me were always going to be.
I'm gonna tell you the one thing,
I don't give a shit
the one thing in regards
about
to
what
this
you got on paper.
is lack of femininity is one of them.
Intangible.
Exactly, because
not something on paper.
because what we grade women on are not the same things that women grade us on.
No.
That's not
Of course
how.
not.
It's very different.
It shouldn't be the same.
So here's one thing, and no one ever wants to fucking talk about it.
And we're going to wrap after this.
But no one ever wants to talk about how standards, dating, serious relationships, non-serious, whatever, like, it's all situational and societal. It always is. And
We are biologically
it's
different.
completely separate from your feelings.
We're biologically different than women, so what we need in relationship and what they need in relationship are two completely
Okay,
different.
Now,
so
age
I do
group,
not agree with that.
Now, even that goes with also the different age groups. What the older age group?
No,
and
but
what the young-
that's
it-
preference. That's more so preference. I'm talking about on a basic level when it comes to female-male interaction.
Yeah, I
That's
got
what
that.
I'm talking about. Anything
know.
else that is your preference, you know, you like girls this tall, or you like girls with no kids, or you like girls that don't want kids, or you want to go. That's all preference. That's all preferential based on your upbringing and things like that. But I'm talking about on a basic level, as far as man to woman kind of things. They are things that, as men, like, you should not like be.
Like he said,
But
like
yeah.
Reggie said, ambition. She got to
But
have
yeah.
some kind of ambition.
But,
it just can't be complacent to me.
But nah, this was good. Most definitely a good conversation.
I know who's gonna be listening to this.
This is good. No, I mean, this is good because this is
All
very.
of the subscribers to Cavalier Convos.
This is a good convo, man.
We got more.
The ladies.
Yeah, because it's not. I mean, it's not as simple. Hopefully, I've been
This
talking.
is for my.
Hopefully, we get some women on here. We get some women on here one of these episodes because
Yeah,
I'm
we'll get
pretty
them in
sure.
the building.
Yeah, we get them in the building. But all right, y'all. But appreciate everybody for listening. We'll obviously be back with more. Y'all have a good. Y'all be blessed, man.
Hey,
And,
always,
Hey, man.
always.
Hey, man. Say that again, Jay.
Y'all be blessed, man. All right,
Always.
holla at everybody. Appreciate y'all for listening.
Easy.
Peace.
No doubt.